Hey everybody, Evan Kirstel here. Today I'm super excited to chat with UiPath in advance of Forward, the big industry gathering of UiPath's ecosystem. And we're going to dive in with a couple of insiders, thought leaders from UiPath. Brandon, maybe introduce yourself and your role at UiPath.
Thanks very much. Great to be here talking with this topic, which of course we're super passionate about with you today. My name is Brandon Knott. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Amelia.
Great. Well, nice to meet you, and thanks for joining us. And Joe Edwards, introduce yourself if you would, and your role at UiPath.
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, my name is Joe Edwards. I work in the product marketing team on some of our AI initiatives at UiPath, and also got to work alongside Brandon for a few years when he was at UiPath.
All right, fantastic. Well, let's dive right in, and we're going to get to where the rubber hits the road. AI, it's going to be one of the key topics at Forward. And if you don't know what Forward is, we're going to share some insights and info during this call. But Brandon, I mean, we're at a point now where Gen I is really not just a hype in the enterprise. It's not just for us tech geeks, but we're seeing real applications, real opportunities that are quite transformational. Give us a lay of the land from the UI perspective. What are you seeing? What are you hearing with your incredible diverse customer base? It must be all over the map in terms of the upside, in terms of the opportunities.
Yeah, that's right. We of course start talking about this on a daily basis, and we talk about it in a couple different contexts. The first is when you look at the acceleration of technology in the past, it's safe to say generative AI has accelerated faster than anything that we've seen before, right? We have a number of stats that point to that in terms of adoption and things like this that people are seeing. And the benefit is that it's really raising the awareness of C-suite executives and people that are on boards of directors about the benefits and the upside to conversational AI and using speech and text in the context of their broader automations. The challenge that it poses is because it's happening so quickly, people are trying to simultaneously understand concerns or risks, or even how to apply it. What are the right use cases for them? And so you see this real convergence of it is for sure beneficial and for sure able to independently derive benefit as well as to derive benefit as part of a larger solution, which I think we'll talk a little about today. And then on the other side, you've got okay, I can do so many things with this. Where should I start? Where should I focus in? And can you help me, whether it's asking Amelia or asking UiPath, we have customers saying, help me craft this message internally, help me pick the right use cases to start off with, and help me take advantage of generative AI and conversational AI in a way that I can get quick momentum, but be building towards a larger goal.
That's a great starting point. And Joe, what say you? Let's talk about the C-suite a little bit. Where should they start, and should they care at this point of the game?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that with the launch of ChatGPT, the C-suite is already caring and more with all things AI. And the cool thing about working at UiPath is, and Brandon knows this from his time at UiPath, like, we've been in the AI space for years, whether you're talking about our computer vision or document understanding capabilities. And now with Gen AI, it just adds a cherry on top. So the C-suite conversations that we're having kind of extend on the AI conversations that we've always had, which are, folks want ways to digitize documents. They want ways to interact with their automations using natural language. And to Brandon's point, there's a wide continuum of use cases that we're seeing evolve. Everywhere from contact centers who are using some of our AI capabilities to trigger automations as they're on calls to decrease average handle time, all the way to some of the newer announcements that we'll make on stage at UiPath Forward in Vegas. So it's a very eager conversation among the C-suite, I'd say. And I think another element that we've heard a lot is that folks want to know how they can prepare their workforces for this new reality. People are experimenting with it. There's, whether you're talking to students in school nowadays who are using it for essays or people using it for blogs, it's clear that the technology is here. So The question is, how can you use Gen AI in a safe, enterprise-friendly way? And we'll have more to share on that at Forward. But yeah, it's a very active conversation, I'd say.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned in a safe enterprise fashion, as there are lots of folks out there playing pretty fast and loose with data privacy and data protection, which really in the enterprise it's quite a balancing act. We have to be so careful. So what do you say on that topic, Brandon, around trust and security and privacy, and how do we move forward at this breakneck speed while taking note of those issues?
Yeah, great question. And every couple days we have a new story. We have new learnings, and it goes both ways. Sometimes there'll be a perceived setback. There'll be a company or an individual or a country that says, "Hey, we need to slow down here." And then a few days later, new features are introduced, more capabilities come out. It's clear that the purveyors of large language models and generative AI are listening to the challenges and are listening to the feedback from the market, and they're adjusting. And then you see companies and countries moving forward again in their intentions. So one, it's going to be a dynamic situation for the near future as we're understanding where the challenges are, creating policies and regulations associated with that. We're going to continue to iterate. What I would highly recommend is when you think about your use case and where you want to apply generative, just in where the application occurs and what the human oversight is, you can manage a lot of that risk. I don't think it's appropriate to say there will be zero generative AI in my company. That I think is a losing position at this point. What I do think it's okay to say is, okay, let's look at where generative is used in the context of a use case. So if I want to create a bunch of examples that then go into coding, or I want to use generative to write some code for me, which will then be reviewed by a developer, will go through my normal processes, that's a very safe, relatively safe way to take the benefit of generative. If you're going to put generative in between a solution that you create and a customer, and you're going to rely on generative to do that final translation or augmentation of the message, that can be a great use case. But then you need to look at what's the chance of hallucination, what's the risk if something does get miscommunicated. Is that a low risk or a high risk to my organization, right? So where you put generative in the context of that use case has a large impact on both the value and the risk associated with it. And what we see is customers really looking at a variety of different use cases, picking the use cases that fit their value, the value that they're trying to create, as well as the risk appetite that they have, and moving forward.
That's fantastic. And Joe, let's talk about the democratization of AI. ChatGPT sort of put the AI in the hands of the masses. In a way, you didn't have to be a data scientist or developer to use it, and that was extraordinary. But now, what does that mean for the enterprise in terms of democratizing access and getting everyone sort of on the AI train? And have tools like Wingman and Amelia that allow an easy way to jump in the AI pool. But it's not an exclusive club anymore, is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I'm sure everybody sees the press releases out there. Everybody has a co-pilot they're announcing. Everybody's thinking about ways that they can use natural language to interact with computers more efficiently and get more out of whatever program you're in, whether that's Office or G Suite or SAP.
Mm.
So I think we are at a really pivotal point. And the cool thing about being in the space for a few years now and working with people like Brandon over the last few years is, we've seen the kind of march of progress. So I joined UiPath 5 years ago, and
Mm.
we along the way have introduced a suite of tools to help kind of lower the barriers of entry for people to automate their own tasks. So we have tools like UiPath Studio Web. It's a very drag and drop friendly interface. It's no code needed to get value out of it. You can automate, the most mundane and repetitive things that you do on a daily basis. But the reality is, as much as we preach about citizen development, there's still a barrier to entry, and people can feel that they see a kind of flow chart interface in Studio Web, and they're like, I don't know if this is for me if they don't consider themselves technical. So I think the amazing thing about the way that things are being democratized now is that you no longer have to even try to explain the flow chart, which itself was pretty easy. Now you can just give somebody something like Project Wingman, which is part of our Studio Web product, and will allow you to say something like, but an example I used the other day with my boss was, we get 1 million Slack messages a day. I always want to be able to surface the ones from him
Mm.
first. So I said, whenever Craig sends me a Slack message, send me an email too. And that was the only prompt that I gave our Project Wingman interface. And normally I could have created that automation, just dragging things around. It wouldn't have taken too long, but just being able to go from that thought to words to a working automation workflow in minutes, it's really incredible. So I think that democratization, like anybody who can talk, is going to be able to leverage these AI tools, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yes, the joke, I guess, is English is the hottest new programming language. So
100%.
uh,
Yeah.
conversation meets automation. And so Brandon, most people know of UiPath for RPA and automation, but tell us about where when these two worlds collide, AI meets automation, conversational interfaces meet automation. Is this the new sweet spot for UiPath?
Yeah, great question. Joe and I like to talk about the fact that we've got two companies that are focused on enterprise automation, that are focused on personal productivity, coming together with very complementary capabilities. So you look at Amelia, we've got the conversational AI element, whether it's chat or voice or any number of other channels. I love what you said, right? Speech being the new programming language, right? Speech being the new interface to
Mm.
to just my systems, my tools, and you have UiPath that whether it's using RPA to automate something that does not have an API or using the integration capabilities of UiPath directly, and you have both of these companies then coming together in this complementary way, and also with the same ideas around generative and leveraging generative to make your build process easier for that democratization of AI that you were just talking about. It's not only a complementary partnership, but also we're very much based on the same principles and embracing the same technologies that are coming out and providing those to customers. So if I'm a UiPath or an Amelia customer right now, I'm doing jumping jacks because now I get to build on the practice that I already have and expand the capabilities. And that's the message that we get from customers. And honestly, that's what's brought us together is a recognition from the market that I want to be able to combine these two disciplines and get economies of scale because they are so similar in the development experience and the deployment experience that when you understand one, it's just a little bit of additional effort to understand the other and get them working together.
That's fantastic. And there's so many avenues that are opened up through this powerful combination. Enhanced customer service and experience, enhanced employee experiences, automated workflows, and on and on. What are some of the exciting use cases you're seeing? And of course, it's all about the developers, the customers, and what they're building. But what are you seeing out there today?
Yeah, it's funny because exciting is in the eye of the beholder, right? And there are plenty of times in which we're having discussions with customers and we'll get a customer or request and it's all about value. It's all about ROI.
Mm,
It's I want to do the things. Think about IT service desk.
mm,
Not something that you may point to as breaking the mold in terms of technology. But when you look at what Amelia and UiPath can do together, it's quite revolutionary. The amount of work that you can do to help employees be more productive that run into issues with the combination of voice and RPA and automations and being able to build these things in a very quick way, you can have a great story that has real internal value. Now, that's that's an internal, perhaps even more utilitarian example. We have instances on the other end of the spectrum that are very customer facing and are changing the way that brands are communicating to their customers, and using AI, using generative, using automation to shape their experiences. So this internal employee focus, this external customer focus, both of these are coming together. The one of the challenges that we face both in both platforms is virtually everything is in scope. I mean, you're bound only by your imagination about what you can do with automation and voice. So we have to be cautious at times and work with our customers to identify the right use cases that are going to both meet that experience, whether it's employee or customer, those experiential needs, as well as the ROI needs. And I'd say this is one of the few instances where you can meet both objectives with a relatively low amount of work by properly scoping your use cases and moving forward. Joe, I'm curious your thoughts there. I think I could go on all day about this.
No, I completely agree. I mean, you queued it up nicely for UiPath Forward too, because I believe we're going to have VisionWorks on stage, who's a joint customer of UiPath and Amelia, sharing some of the use cases that they're developing around, AI-enabled automation, AI-powered automation. So definitely a plug for Forward there. A use case I actually heard about just today with one of the largest contact centers in North America. They're using UiPath to be like a sidebar assistant for their agents. And the really cool thing that I love that this contact center leader said was that, over COVID, they equipped all their agents with dual monitors. So everybody's has the dual, sometimes three monitor setups. They have all these different call center applications all over the place. And, when you're dealing with potentially angry customers who are calling in, who want their issues resolved, if you have 9 different applications open and each of them are sending different notifications and you have to keep logging into various ones, that can get really overwhelming really fast. So with the story that we're working on, and this woman will be speaking at UiPath Forward as well, is how they've actually been able to consolidate using UiPath apps as a kind of interface layer for their automations. They've been able to consolidate and get that down to one monitor for their agents. So their agents still have 2. They can still use 2 to multitask, but just to be able to consolidate that kind of crazy screen of 9 different applications into one clean view is amazing. And now they're very excited, about the potential for Amelia use cases and how they can tie that to voice and to chat. So the spectrum of use cases is really broad.
Yeah, so much on display at Forward. Last year was my first UiPath Forward, and it was really just so eye-opening. It was, kind of like a playground for enterprise tech geeks, developers, and more. What are you most looking forward to, guys, for UiPath 6? Just in a couple of weeks, what can folks expect? Any sneak preview here?
Well, I'm really thrilled about the VisionWorks example we mentioned. I think folks who can hear about the joint Amelia and UiPath proposition will get a lot out of that. Brandon, I think you're coming to Forward too, right?
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
I've been to every Forward as in different capacities now. Now joining as a partner, and I have to say, Forward is one of the best events that I get the pleasure of going to. Not only because there's great content, but there's a community there that is really dedicated to both that experience side as well as the ROI side of automation and thinking outside the box and stitching together disparate systems with UiPath and with Amelia. And I have to say, one of the things that I enjoy the most is simply talking with people and learning about what's happening in the industry. What are the customer needs that are relevant right now? And it's a very open area of discussion, and one that I think you come away more excited to go out and take charge to take over the world with automation by virtue of just being around the buzz and the other people that are also out there to make a difference in their organization and in their communities.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. to put it mildly. And you guys had me at Walter Isaacson. I'm reading his current book on Musk, and he's one of my all-time favorite authors. So well done on scoring so many amazing keynotes. So I'll see you guys there, and we'll have tons more content and updates and interviews and insights to share. And thanks so much, for spending just this quick few minutes on quick update, insight, and some analysis.
Thanks for the opportunity, Evan. And great seeing you again, Brandon.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate your watching, and any feedback you can have, reach out.
Great, thank you.
Sounds good. Take care.